Scapegoating George Soros. It's the right wing's favorite pastime these days. And I just kind of want to set the record straight about George Soros. From my perspective, you hear it all the time. George Soros is funding this liberal cause, that liberal cause. I've been hearing that for the past, so I would say probably the past 15 years. You know, George Soros during the early days, during the first term of Bush, as it was entering the second term, 2003, 2004, that time period. Um, there was talk about Air America, um, a radio network to combat right wing talk radio, Fox News. It was a really dismal time when it came to media back then, because even though media is still corporately manipulated this day and age, and social media, they're trying to clamp down on alternative voices. Alternative voices exist, and I'm glad it exists. But this is about the time I started hearing about George Soros. The right wing are like, oh, all this money being funded by George Soros to try to combat the talk radio, try to combat Fox News. Well, if it's true, I say thank you, George Soros, because while I do believe in the First Amendment and I do believe that Fox News and right wing talk radio have a right to exist, it would be nice if for a change, some wealthy billionaire money comes to try to combat the propaganda that comes out of Fox News and comes out of the talk radio, the garbage that they vomit out into the airwaves. And I hear it every time. Every time there's a progressive situation, progressive movement, the conspiracy theories come about. Oh, yeah, George Soros' money is funding this cause and that cause, and oh my goodness! Anytime that there's a movement that on the liberal left that's really loud and it's effective, was obviously has George Soros' fingerprints all over it. And they have called this man everything. They have called him a communist, which is refutable, and they have called him a Nazi, which is also refutable. Now, about the communists, calling him a communist, of course, anybody who's on the left, um, anybody in the year 2020, today, or let's say back in 2005, 2006, anything to the left of Michelle Bachmann was considered a communist. Today, anything to the left of Ted Cruz is a communist. This is how the right functions. And I said it, the Republican Party is pretty damn bonkers. As horrible as the Democratic Party is, the Republican Party proves once again that as an electoral party, it's bonkers. Call him a communist. Um, George Soros, with his billions, he's actually funded anti-communist movements behind the Iron Curtain. That's the part that people don't seem to remember. Um, so um, so what the right wing in this country wants to give Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher all the credit for the defeat of communism. Um, and I'm being charitable when I say that they may have played a role in whatever capacity one can define it. And I'm being charitable saying this, but that fortune that George Soros has that funded anti-communist movements in Eastern Europe was a factor. You expect the right wing to thank him for that? No. But then they go and claim that he was a Nazi. Now, the man was born in 1930 in Hungary to an Orthodox Jewish family. Yeah, today he is Jewish, but he's not really a religious person. However, they claim this is what they claim that in Hungary, the Jewish Council was set up by the Hitler government to track Jews down and use Jewish kids to find Jewish families and individuals within Hungary to get captured by the German government to put them in concentration camps. And yeah, it's kind of true that George Soros did, but you have to realize he was a young kid and he really didn't have much of a choice in this action. This would be like when some folks on the radical left with an extreme animosity toward organized religion would claim that Pope Benedict was a Nazi. Why? Because as a young kid, he was a member of Hitler's youth. Again, refutable. Both men were not Nazi sympathizers. In George Soros' case, he was forced to join the Jewish Council to track down Jews in Hungary for the German government. And as a young kid, it was beyond his control. In regard to Pope Benedict the 16th, he was John Ratzinger, and he was by the government of Germany. Every kid had to join Hitler's youth. When he was old enough to fight in World War II as a corporal in the German army, John Ratzinger, who will later become Pope Benedict the 16th, deserted the German army. So Pope Benedict the 16th, whatever you may think of him, one way or the other, I think it's very vicious to call him a Nazi sympathizer or a Nazi. It's just as vicious, and it actually, in some weird roundabout way, borders anti-Semitism to smear George Soros with the allegation that he was a Nazi, as if he is still some practicing Nazi. Now, in regard to his role in Germany, in Hungary during World War II, I do believe that as he fled to England and he built his fortune, that he was bothered, with good reason, he was bothered by his forced role in capturing Jewish families and individuals. And I think that probably he wanted to compensate by being a force for good in the world. Again, behind the Iron Curtain, he was he was funding movements to bring down the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc. Um, George Soros, during the Bush years, was funding movements in the U.S. and in the UK and elsewhere around the world to try to put a stop to the Iraq War, which was an act of evil by the U.S. government. And it was a good cause that George Soros was funding. I am mixed whether I actually like George Soros or not, because in recent years, he's been involved with things that I don't quite agree with. I've got my criticisms of George Soros. Like, for example, a lot of the George Soros money funneled into the Hillary Clinton campaign. So, some socialist he is if he's choosing Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Not really damn much of a socialist to begin with. But the thing about it is that I do like the fact that he triggers the right wing in this country, which puts a smile in my face. But the trying to make this man look like some shadowy figure Um, and you got to remember, from my perspective, George Soros is a corporatist. And I don't particularly think too kindly of corporatists, even at times when they are magnanimous and try to be some kind of humanitarian. When you have billions upon billions and billions of dollars, it's kind of easy to have a conscience. So, is I don't know if I should be overwhelmingly impressed by that, but I suppose I guess that his money going to progressive causes is certainly a hell of a lot better than investing in the kind of horribleness that the Koch brothers would invest themselves into, politically speaking. So that's my take on George Soros. It's a mixed record. I don't particularly find myself a fan, but I do acknowledge some of the good he's done in the past. But at the same time, I'm also a little alarmed by the paranoia, alarmed and humored by the paranoia of the American right in regard to George Soros. And it's funny, I haven't really talked about George Soros in a while. It, he just popped up because you just, I mean, the conspiracy theories, they're just so over the top at times. Um, I remember when on Fox News back during the Bush years, having here Bill O'Reilly obsess over George Soros almost nightly on his show, and it was just kind of like well, for a moment I was like, I like what this troublemaker is doing, but if he was the billionaire socialist that they claim he is, um, I would like to see him try to fund something in the United States that would be to the left of the Democrats. Fund a Labor Party. Um, that is what we need. And old Georgie, Mr. Soros, if you're listening, hint, hint, suggestion. If you really are the man, the radical leftist that the right makes you out to be, use your money for good. Fund a Labor Party for America. If you like this post, this commentary, press like, subscribe, tell your friends about this channel. Remember, the algorithms are messed up, and we need to overcome that. And if you have something you got to say, you got a YouTube channel, or hopefully you do. You should. If you got an account, turn it into your own platform and speak your mind. Doggone it. I'm Bernie Bro, and once again, thank you, and have a great day.